I still wake up some nights, staring at the ceiling, trying to understand how everything unraveled so quickly. One moment I was a man preparing to marry the woman I loved. The next I was gone, disappeared without a trace, leaving behind the life I thought we were building together. Her name was Margot. From the moment I met her, I was convinced she was different. She had this way of making me feel like I was the only man in the world. The way she laughed at my terrible jokes, the way she'd reach for my hand absent-mindedly while we walked, it all felt so genuine, so real. For 4 years, I lived under the illusion that I had found my person, that we were unshakable. The wedding was just weeks away. We had picked the venue together, debated over napkin colors, and even argued about whether we should do an open bar, her idea, or keep it simple, mine. It was normal, the kind of small disagreements every couple has. But looking back, I should have seen the signs. She had been distant, not cold, not cruel, just not as present as she used to be. She was on her phone more often, smiling at messages she never shared. I chalked it up to wedding stress. Maybe she was overwhelmed, or just trying to soak in these last few moments before we became husband and wife. Then one evening, she mentioned a small gathering with some friends, a pre-bachelorette celebration. Nothing major, just a fun night out. She told me about it so casually, like it was the most normal thing in the world. I remember watching her get ready that night, sitting on the edge of our bed while she stood in front of the mirror. She looked stunning, her hair curled just the way she liked it, her dress hugging her in all the right ways. But something was off. This time I felt it more intensely than ever before. When she caught me staring, she smirked and said, "What? You act like I've never gone out before." I forced a laugh, just taking it all in. I told her, "You look beautiful." She kissed me quickly. "Don't wait up," she said. I told myself to let it go, that she deserved a night out, that I was being ridiculous for feeling uneasy. But something about the way she had said it, "Don't wait up," stuck with me like a bad song. That night, sleep never came. I tossed and turned, my mind spiraling into places I didn't want to go. When she still wasn't home by 3 a.m., I did something I never thought I'd do. I checked her location. What I saw made my stomach drop. She wasn't at a restaurant or a friend's apartment. She was at a private residence on the other side of town, somewhere she had never mentioned before. I sat there for a long time staring at the screen, my hand shaking. Every rational part of me tried to justify it. Maybe one of her friends lived there. Maybe they had just decided to move the party. But deep down, I knew. And still, I waited, allowing hope to slowly die. When she finally came home, the sun was already creeping through the blinds. I listened as she tiptoed through the door, trying to be quiet, as if I wasn't lying awake, drowning in suspicion. She smelled different. Not like perfume, not like sweat, just different. The scent was like a stranger, distant. I didn't say anything. I just lay there staring at the ceiling, feeling something inside me crack. I had no proof, no confirmation, just a gut feeling that the woman I was about to marry had betrayed me in a way I couldn't even begin to understand. And I knew in that moment that I would never look at her the same way again. I lay there listening to Margot move through the apartment, my mind racing with thoughts I didn't want to entertain. I could hear her slipping off her heels, the soft rustling of fabric as she changed, the quiet exhale of exhaustion as she climbed into bed beside me. She must have thought I was asleep because she didn't say a word. No whispered apology, no explanation, just silence. But I wasn't asleep. My body was frozen in place, my breathing measured, my heart pounding in my chest. I had spent the entire night convincing myself I was overthinking, that there had to be a logical reason for her location being somewhere she had never mentioned before, that maybe I was just an idiot for checking it all. But the way she crept in like a thief, like someone who knew they had something to hide, shattered that illusion. I could feel the warmth of her body close to mine, but for the first time since we had met, she felt like a stranger. I wanted to confront her, to sit up, turn on the light, and demand to know the truth. But I was afraid. Afraid of what she might say, afraid of what I might hear, afraid that the life we had built, the future I had planned, was already gone and I just hadn't realized it yet. Instead, I waited. The next morning she woke up before me, slipping out of bed with a groggy sigh. I listened as she shuffled into the bathroom, the sound of the shower turning on, the soft hum of her voice as she mindlessly sang to herself, like nothing was wrong, like she hadn't just come home at dawn from a place I couldn't explain. I forced myself to get up, walking into the kitchen and making coffee, my hands still unsteady. When she finally emerged, wrapped in a towel, her hair dripping wet, she smiled at me, like nothing had changed. "Morning," she said, leaning in for a quick kiss. I let her do it, even though every fiber of my being was screaming that something was off. "You were out late," I said carefully, watching her reaction. She yawned, stretching her arms. "Yeah, the girls wanted to keep the party going, so we went to Kelly's cousin's place. I meant to text, but I figured you'd be asleep anyway." I studied her, the way she avoided my eyes just a little too much, the way she casually threw out a name I had never heard before, the way she so effortlessly lied to me. And I knew. I didn't know the details, I didn't have a confession, I didn't have proof, but I knew. I nodded slowly, pretending to believe her. "Yeah, I crashed early," I said, taking a sip of coffee that suddenly tasted bitter. "Glad you had fun." She beamed, walking past me to get dressed, completely unaware that my mind was unraveling everything we had. The rest of the day felt surreal. I went through the motions, pretending everything was fine, but inside I was spiraling. I replayed every conversation we had in the past few weeks, every moment that suddenly felt suspicious. And then I made a decision. I needed to know the truth. That night, after Margot fell asleep, I took her phone. My hands were shaking as I unlocked it. Thankfully, she hadn't changed her passcode. My heart pounded as I scrolled through her messages looking for something, anything that would tell me I was wrong. But I wasn't. I found the group chat first, a conversation with her so-called girlfriends. Except it wasn't just them. There were other names in there, names I didn't recognize and messages that made my stomach churn. "Last night was insane. Can't believe we finally got her to come. She was nervous at first, but damn did she loosen up fast. Told you she'd love it. Think she'll come back next time?" I felt sick. My vision blurred as I clicked on the attached photos. They weren't explicit, but they didn't have to be. Margot at a house I had never seen before, surrounded by people I didn't know, holding a drink, laughing, looking happier than I had seen her in weeks. I clenched my jaw, scrolling further, my breath coming in short bursts. And then I found the worst part. A private message. "Last night was incredible. Can't stop thinking about it. You're something else." Sent to her from a name I had never seen before. And her response, "You're trouble, but I had fun." I put the phone down. My hands were shaking so badly I almost dropped it. My heart was hammering so hard I thought I might pass out. I felt like the air had been sucked out of the room. This wasn't just a mistake. This wasn't just some drunk bad decision. She had planned this. She had chosen this. And the worst part? She had come home to me afterward, kissed me like nothing had happened, and slept beside me like I was nothing. I sat there gripping the edge of the bed, my mind racing through 1,000 different emotions: rage, heartbreak, disbelief. But one thing became crystal clear. The woman I was supposed to marry wasn't the woman I thought she was. And this wedding? It was never going to happen. I didn't sleep that night. I couldn't. My mind kept replaying the messages, the photos, the smirk in her text that felt like a slap in the face. I lay there staring at the ceiling, listening to the soft rhythm of her breathing, wondering how she could sleep so peacefully while my entire world was caving in. I thought about waking her up, demanding answers right then and there, forcing her to admit what she had done. But what would that change? She would lie, she would gaslight me, make me feel crazy for even asking. I'd seen it before, heard the stories from other men who had been in my shoes. I never thought I'd be one of them. Morning came, and with it, a twisted sense of clarity. Margot moved through the apartment like it was any other day, completely unaware that I knew the truth. She kissed me on the cheek, poured herself a cup of coffee, and scrolled through her phone, probably texting the very people who had helped her betray me. I watched her, studied her every move, searching for guilt, hesitation, anything that showed she regretted what she had done. But there was nothing. "Hey," she said casually, glancing up at me, "we still need to go over the seating chart for the wedding." The words hit me like a punch to the gut. The wedding. The wedding that would never happen. The wedding she still had the audacity to pretend was real while sneaking around behind my back. I forced a smile, nodding. Yeah, we should. I knew then that I couldn't just end it in some big, dramatic confrontation. I needed to disappear, to walk away in a way that left her completely blindsided, the same way she had blindsided me. Let her feel the shock, the confusion, the emptiness. Let her wake up one morning expecting to be a bride and instead find nothing but silence. But first, I had to make sure she would never see it coming. The rest of the day, I played my part. I talked about the wedding like I still cared, nodded along when she mentioned final dress fittings and floral arrangements. I even agreed when she suggested we have dinner with her parents that weekend. All the while, I was planning my exit. As soon as she left for work, I got to work. I called my best friend, Jonah, the only person I knew I could trust. When I told him what happened, there was a long silence on the other end of the line. "Damn," he finally said. "You sure you don't want to confront her?" I shook my head, even though he couldn't see me. "No. She'll lie, she'll twist it. I don't want the drama, Jonah. I just want out." He exhaled. "All right, man. What do you need?" "Help me disappear." And just like that, the plan was set. I started small. I took the essentials, my passport, a few changes of clothes, the important documents I didn't want her to have access to. I transferred money to a new account, making sure she wouldn't be able to touch a cent of it. I canceled the lease on our apartment, sending the notice to the landlord under my name only. She would have no warning. Then I wrote the letter. It took me hours to get the words right, to figure out how to tell her exactly what she had done to me without ever raising my voice. In the end, I kept it simple. "Margot, I know. I know about the party, I know about the messages, I know about the man you spent the night with while I was at home thinking we were building a life together. I know it all. I won't waste my breath asking why. It doesn't matter anymore. I just wanted you to know that I see you for who you really are now. There won't be a wedding. By the time you read this, I'll be gone. I hope whatever you were looking for that night was worth it. Don't bother to try and find me." I signed my name, folded the letter, and left it on the kitchen counter where she would see it the second she walked in. Then, without a second glance, I walked out the door. I didn't take a single thing that reminded me of her. I didn't give myself time to mourn the life I had lost, because the truth was, that life had never existed in the first place. It was all a lie. As I drove away, leaving behind the city, the apartment, and the woman I had once thought I would grow old with, I felt something I hadn't expected. Relief. For the first time in weeks, I could finally breathe. The strangest thing about disappearing is how easy it actually is. People always assume it takes meticulous planning, months of preparation, a whole new identity. But really, it's just a matter of walking away and refusing to look back. As I drove out of town, I kept expecting to feel regret, some overwhelming urge to turn the car around and beg Margot for an explanation. But the further I got, the more I realized there was nothing left to salvage. What could she possibly say? That it was a mistake? That it didn't mean anything? I had seen the messages, the photos. I had read her own words laced with excitement and flirtation, with no sign of guilt or hesitation. No, I didn't need an explanation. I needed distance. Jonah had set me up with a temporary place, a cabin in the middle of nowhere, a few hours outside of the city. It belonged to his uncle, who only used it during hunting season. It was exactly what I needed. No internet, no noise, no reminders of what my life had just become. Just me, the quiet, and a stack of books I hadn't touched in years. As I pulled into the gravel driveway, I let out a long breath I hadn't realized I'd been holding. The cabin was small but sturdy, tucked away between thick pine trees that smelled like rain. I stepped out of the car, stretching my legs, feeling the weight of the last few days settle deep into my bones. Inside, the place was simple. Wooden floors, a stone fireplace, and furniture that looked like it hadn't been updated since the early 90s. I didn't care. I wasn't here for comfort. I was here to figure out what the hell I was supposed to do next. I spent the first few hours just sitting there, staring out the window, trying to process everything. It still didn't feel real. The wedding invitations had already gone out. Our families were expecting a celebration, a future, a life we had promised to each other. But while I had been picturing forever, Margot had been sneaking out to what? To chase some cheap thrill? To feel something I apparently couldn't give her? I shook the thought away. It didn't matter. It wouldn't change anything. My phone buzzed, pulling me out of my daze. A text from Jonah. "Did you do it?" I hesitated before typing back. "Yeah, I'm out." A few seconds later, another message. "You okay?" That was a harder question. Was I okay? I wasn't sure. There was no word for the kind of numbness I felt. I didn't reply. I turned my phone off instead, tossing it on the coffee table.